Hi, guys. We're going to continue with monster problem number 2, which will have a nice review of a lot of things that we've learned. Here is my next problem. And again, I want to find all of the roots or solutions or answers or x-intercepts of this polynomial. Before we get started, we should figure out how many answers we should get because we want to make sure we get all of our answers. So according to the fundamental theorem of algebra, this problem has 4 answers since my largest exponent is x to the 4th. Next, I'm going to list out all the possible rational answers so that I can start finding those solutions. Now, in this problem, my constant is the number 2, so I'm not going to get that many options. I have positive and negative 1 and positive and negative 2, and that's really it. Maybe those are my 4 answers. I don't know. We'll have to check and see. And we're going to check with our handy dandy calculator. So I always start with the number 1, so go ahead and type the number 1 into the polynomial, and unfortunately 1 does not work. So let's try 2. So type 2 into your handy dandy calculator, and 2 does work. So my first answer is the number 2. Now that I know my first answer, I can use that and synthetic division to get my polynomial to be smaller. So right now it's an x to the 4th. If I do synthetic division, I can get it down to an x to the 3rd. And again, our goal is just keep making it smaller and smaller and smaller until we have found all of our answers. All right, here is my new polynomial that I'm going to work with. Now, unfortunately, this polynomial is not factorable. So I'm going to have to do the calculate and check again. So I'm going to have to plug in some numbers. Now, the possible answers to this new polynomial, they are different than the possible answers to the original one because I have a new constant. My new constant is 1. So there's really only 2 possible rational answers to this problem, and they are positive 1 or negative 1. Now, I'm already pretty confident positive 1's not going to work because we already tried positive 1 in the original one and it didn't work there. So, I mean, you can try it again if you want to, but I'm going to go for negative 1. So I'm going to type in negative 1. When you're typing in negative 1, make sure to surround it with parentheses and to put your exponent on the outside of the parentheses. Otherwise, it's not going to work right. And negative 1 does work. So now, to recap, I found my answer of x equals 2, and I was able to get my polynomial down to an x to the 3rd. Then I found an answer of negative 1, so I've got 2 of my 4 answers so far. So now I'm going to use my answer of negative 1, and I'm going to do synthetic division on my new polynomial, my x to the 3rd polynomial, and I'm going to get it down one more time. And this time I should be able to get it down to an x squared. Once you have it down to an x squared, there's really 2 possible things that you can do. You can factor, like we did on the first monster problem today. This one's not factorable. I don't know 2 numbers that multiply to 1 and add to 3. So your other option, if you can get it down to x squared, x in a number, and it's not factorable, then we have to do quadratic formula. All right, so I'm going to take my new polynomial with a degree of 2, and I'm going to do quadratic formula. It has to have a degree of 2 to do quadratic formula. You can't do it with a higher degree. Quadratic is for second degree problems. Quadratic formula is something we learned so long ago, so I'm hoping you understand what I just put up on the screen. And here are my other 2 answers. Remember, quadratic formula always gives us 2 answers because it gives us a positive and a negative. So I now have my 4 answers. Negative 1, positive 2, negative 3 plus rad 5 all divided by 2, and negative 3 minus rad 5 all divided by 2. Let's recap. Here I have a 4th degree polynomial, also known as a quartic polynomial. Its solutions, its roots, its answers, its x-intercepts are at negative 1, positive 2, And look, these are not imaginary. There's no letter I. So these are actual x-intercepts. You can type them into a calculator to find the answer. If you're typing into a calculator, I suggest typing in the entire numerator, hitting the equals button, and then dividing by 2. So I would get an answer for the top and then divide that answer by 2. So for these, I got negative 0.38 and negative 2.62. So I do get some more x-intercepts from those. One other really cool thing I want to mention really quickly is I can actually get a y-intercept as well. Just like on our parabolas, our y-intercept is our constant. So it's this negative 2 over here. So I also know that this graph is going to cross the y-axis at negative 2. Now, I'm not very confident about what the graph's going to look like, but I can make an educated guess. It's 4th degree, so it's going to start high. It's going to squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. It's going to end high. It's got to hit all those dots on that graph. So here's my best guess at what this looks like. And this concludes our videos for today.